හින්දාන ප්‍රශ්න.
Okay.
හරිද?
Okay. So today's question was posed from the audience, and it was like this: describing the difference between phala-samadhi, that is like the attainment of fruition, and there is another attainment called the attainment of cessation, or cessation of feeling and perception. So, if Lokam can talk about the difference between those two.
එතකොට මේ ඵල සමාපත්තිය පුරුදු කරගත්ත එක්කෙනෙක් තමයි නිරෝධ සමාපත්තියට සම්මාදින්න පුරුදු වෙන්නේ.
So first thing is, it is the person that has trained in the attainment of the fruition that can hope to train the attainment of cessation.
එක්ක අනාගාමි ඵලය පුරුදු වෙලා තියෙනවා නැත්නම් අරිහත් ඵලයේ වාසී වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒක සමාපatti බවට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා.
So now when we say samapatthi in Pali, that means I prefer, they call it an attainment in the English translation, but closer to the intended meaning might be like proficiency or mastery of that thing. So the person that wants to train this attainment of cessation is somebody that has to have that is the fruition of an anagami or non-return, or fruition of arahatship, and must have reached this mastery or samapatthi at attaining that.
සමාපත්තියයි කියලා කියන එක මේ තමුන්ට කැමති වෙලාවක් මේ ඵල සමාපත්තිය ජීවත් වෙන්න ඕනේ.
So when we say samapatthi, so this proficiency or mastery of that attainment is such a person is able at will to enter and stay the desired amount of time at will in the attainment. So in this case, this is the attainment of the fruition attainment of anagamita or arahatship.
ඔව් ඒක මේ විනාඩි 10ක් 15ක් ඵල සමාපත්තිය ඉන්නවා වගේ නෙවෙයි. පැය දෙක තුනක් ඉන්න පුරුදු වෙලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
And also this staying in the attainment chosen time period does not mean like 5 or 10 minutes only. Such a person is able to enter and stay in the attainment for 2 or 3 hours straight.
එතකොට ඒක මේ සෝතාපන්න ඵල සමාපත්තියයි ඒවෙන් ගන්න බෑ. සකදාගාමී ඵල සමාපත්තියව ගන්න බෑ.
So if one wants to train the fruition of the attainment of cessation, nirodha samapatti, one has to have this be an anagami or arahat. So it is only the fruition attainment of a non-returner or arahatship that can be used to train that.
කාමරාග ව්‍යාපාද දෙක, නීවරණ දෙක, එහෙම නැත්නම් සංයෝජන දෙක, මේ සංයෝජනය හටගන්නේ නිතරම තණ්හාවත් එක්ක, මේ නීවරණය හටගන්නේ නිතරම අවිද්‍යාවත් එක්ක. ඒ දෙක සම්පූර්ණ නැති වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒකේ හටගන්න අවිද්‍යාවයි ඒ තණ්හ සම්පූර්ණමයි බිඳුවක් නැහැ.
So the fruitions of the three mental and one's return is not good enough, because somebody that wants to hope to train this must have removed both the hindrances that are connected with sensuality and ill will, as well as the fetters, that is means things that are connected with or arising thanks to or connected with ignorance, that is the hindrance part, or this craving, that is the fetter part. So both of these have been completely eradicated without any remainder in the anagami. So if there is any leftover there, that person cannot train this attainment of cessation.
මේ කාම ලෝකයේ අරමුණු ඒ පුද්ගලයන්ට නැහැ.
So such a person, that means at least an anagami. That means Lokam says for such a person, sensual objects are really not there or not really working for him.
එහෙම මේ සංඥාවකුත් නැහැ.
So it's not when we say that means like he has no even perception or kind of like idea about them at all.
ඒ සංඥාවේ ස්වභාවය උපමාවකින් තමයි කියන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ.
So this can be explained a little bit by a simile.
දන්නේ නැති දෙයක්, දැකලා නැති දෙයක්, අහලා නැති දෙයක්, හිතලා නැති දෙයක ආරම්මණයක් නැහැ.
So let's consider. So let's say there is something. This elusive something, we have never seen it before. We have never heard about it or even like thought about that. So so that is this kind of attitude towards this. In the beginning, කාමාරමුණු අව්‍යාපාරමුණු
ඔන්න ඒතකොට සංඥාවට පිහිටන්න තැනක් නැහැ. සංඥාවට පිහිටන්න තැනක් තිබුණ තරමුණ. ඒ වගේම ඒ කෙරේ සංඥාව නැහැ. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ මේ අරමුණක් නැහැ ඔළුවේ.
ඒ කියන්න කාමරාගය ව්‍යාපාදේ. So when Lokam talks about how these sensual things or even ill-will things are not working at all, it's like this thing we have not heard, not seen, and not even thought about. So in connection of this elusive thing, we cannot, the perception about that cannot establish in any way. So we cannot get any kind of notion or even notion about such a thing. So it's in a similar way that for this non-returner or arahat, the sensual things or ill-will things are there.
ඒතකොට දැන් අන්නේ තත්වයට මේ නීවරණ සංයෝජන අයින් වෙච්ච කෙනෙක්. යම් කිසි පුද්ගලයෙක්.
So let's say now we are still trying to get a person suitable to train this cessation or attainment of cessation. So we managed to procure somebody that has this level of purity, that is there is no remainder left about sensual attachment or desire or anything to do with ill will.
දැන් උඟක් දෙනෙක් මේ කාමරාග ව්‍යාපාද හුඟක් යටපත් වුණාන් පස්සේ නෑ කියලා හිතෙනවා.
So the other thing is some practitioners, because of extensive practice, attain level where these two, that is sensual attachment or desire and ill will, are both very much suppressed to the extent that the practitioner thinks that they have been overcome altogether. They are not there anymore.
ඒ පුජ්‍යලයන් මේ කාමරාග නැවත ව්‍යාපාදේ කියලා බයක් තියෙනවා සිතේ.
So such a person has kind of a fear in the mind that those two might once again arise.
ඒ බය නැහැ.
Aranagamico.
අනාගාමී යන්නේ.
So this kind of like fear or doubting fear is not there in the non-return. So like because he has definitively no fear of the sexual attachment or ill will coming up.
අනාගාමී මාර්ග ඥානයෙන් පස්සේ මාර්ගඵලයෙන් පස්සේ එයාගේ මානසික මට්ටම පවතින නිතරම ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යාන තත්ත්වය වගේ එක.
So actually Lapam says if we have somebody that has already attained the non-return, that is the third realization, such a person while staying in like all the daily normal occasions when he is, it's like his normal way of operating in the world is at the level of the first absorption.
හරියත් එක්කෙනාගේ නිතරම සිත පවතින චතුර්ථ ධ්‍යාන මට්ටම වගේ.
So the arahats similarly in their day-to-day situation, even if they are not really practicing too much or anything, if we can say that. So their normal mode of operation is similar to the fourth absorption.
මේ අහන ඕගොල්ලන්ට කිසි වැඩක් නැහැ මම ඒ වුණත් ඇහුව නිසායි කියන්නේ.
So of course now for us here, this is of no kind of use. This is just very theoretical talk. But anyway, because it has been asked, so that's why we are discussing.
ඊළඟට ඒ පුජ්‍යල මේ ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යානෙ පුරුදු කරනවා.
So now we have the suitable person that wants to attain this attainment of cessation. So then this person started to train for that. So first what this applicant or this yogi does is training the first absorption.
ඒ ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යානෙ සමාපත්තියක් බවට පත් කරනවා.
and he turns his his first jhana or first absorption is turned into samapatthi. So he attains this mastery or familiarity with the first absorption.
ධ්‍යානයයි සමාපත්තියයි සමාධියයි තුනක්.
So there we have to again actually clearly distinguish three different things as different. That is samadhi, jhana, and samapatti. Samadhi is translated as, let's say, concentration. Jhana is absorption, and samapatti is this called attainment or mastery. So there are three different levels.
සමාපත්තිය බවටයි පත් කරන්නේ.
Huh?
සමාපත්තිය බවට තමයි පත් කරලා තියෙන ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යානය.
So here what we talk about is turning the first absorption into familiarity or mastery of that first absorption.
ඊට පස්සේ යා මේ දෙවනි ධ්‍යානෙත් සමාපත්තිය බවට පත් කරනවා.
So then once that is managed, then the practitioner starts training into gaining master of the second jhana.
ඒ වගේ ධ්‍යාන තුන්වෙනි ධ්‍යානෙත් ඒ විදිහේ සමාපත්තියක්, හතරවෙනි ධ්‍යානෙත් සමාපත්තියක්.
Once that is done, the third jhana, and once that is done, the fourth jhana.
ඔයලන්ට අරූපාවචර ධ්‍යාන හතරක් සමාපatti බවට පත් කරනවා.
So then what is trained is the same way again, gaining mastery of the immaterial jhanas. So in the end, the practitioner has mastery of all the 8 jhanas, that is the 4 on the fine material and 4 on the immaterial.
එතකොට ධ්‍යාන අටත් සමාපatti වශයෙන් පවත්වලා තියෙනවා.
And for all of those jhanas, all 8 altogether, the practitioner now has attained mastery. That is like entering and staying at will and as much as he likes and so on.
අරියත් ඵලයේ තමයි බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ විමුක්ති සුඛ පටිසංවේදී කියලා කියන්නේ.
So now in this suttas, there is this term used quite often. As Lokam said, vimukti sukha pativedi. So that is patisamvedi. It's like it's usually translated as something like experiencing the bliss of liberation. So this particular term, Lokam says, is code name for the attainment of Arhat's fruition.
ඒක සත්තාහං ඒකපල්ලං කියන විමුක්ති සුඛ පටිසංවේදී ගන්න අරියත් ඵලෙමයි ඒ දවස් හතමයි දැක්කේ.
So it is the same thing we read in the scriptures that the Buddha, after the enlightenment state, experiencing the bliss of renunciation at the root of the Bodhi tree for 7 days straight. So it was the fruition of arahatship that the Buddha was experiencing.
ඉතින් එහෙම මේ ඒ විමුක්ති සුඛේ පුරුදු කරලා තියෙනවා දවස් 3ට 4ට දවසක් ඉන්න. කවුරු හරි බුදුහාමුදුරුවෝ ඉතින් බුද්ධත් වෙන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය පුද්ගලයා.
So is the Buddha because he is a very specific person. He is the Buddha, no? So in him, it is kind of he attains this ability when the attainment of the Buddhahood happens. But for us, we need to train that. So you like little by little increase the time you are able to stay in the fruition attainment until it's quite long. That was hatak.
හතක් මම දවස් දෙක සවදාවස දවාරු භාගේ එහෙම පුරුදු කරනවා.
So the yogis that train that, they try to manage to stay in that attainment for half a day or 1 day or 2 days. That means this fruition attainment.
දවස් 3-4 පුරුදු කරගත්ත මේ යෝගී ඉන්න පුළුවන්, ආම්දුරු ඉන්න පුළුවන්.
So then yogis or monks that have this, so they manage to get this kind of mastery where they are able to stay in that fruition attainment for 3 or 4 days. Sometimes even a little bit more.
ඒ උතුම් පුජ්‍යලයා මේ ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යාන සමාපත්තිය සමාධි.
So this is actually one, when we talk about this practitioner, Lokam calls him Uttama Purusaisrika, kind of aloof or the highest kind of person in a way in the world. because like not many people manage to match all these criteria to that. So once this work is done, then the practitioner trains in this way. He enters the first jhana, first absorption, and from that he like goes into the fruition attainment.
ඒ ප්‍රථම අධ්‍යාන සමවැදිලා ඒ ප්‍රථම අධ්‍යානයේ තියෙන මේ ධර්මතා ටික මේ උපචාරේ ඒක මෙනෙහි කරනවා.
So
ප්‍රථම අධ්‍යාන
Patamajan negativity.
නැගිටලා.
So this practitioner enters the first absorption, and after arising or like emerging from the absorption, the mind is at the level of excess concentration. So within that excess concentration, there are some natural things occurring within that concentration. Arriving
ප්‍රථම අධ්‍යානයේ ඉඳලා ධර්මතාව ප්‍රථම අධ්‍යානයෙන් ඉඳලා ඒ සමාපත්තියෙන් අයින් වෙලා මේ තිරක්කණයට සිත නගනවා. ඒ ආරම්මණය.
So it's the same object still there that was used to enter the absorption, so to say. So and at the level that is just after the emergence from the first absorption, whatever is there in the mind, that itself is used to grasp one of these three characteristics and are acting parasitic.
ඒකෙන් අරියත් ඵලයට සමවදිනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් අනාගාමී ඵලයට.
From that itself, one of the three characteristics to use to trigger the attainment of fruition, and it is the anagami fruition or arahat fruition. Depending on the practitioner.
ඒ අරියත් ඵලයට නැත්නම් අනාගාමී ඵලයට සමවදලා පුරුදු වෙනවා.
But before that, the person train already in it's already master of the first jhana as well as the fruition attainment. Right. So he just trains to go switch quickly from the first jhana attainment into this fruition attainment.
ප්‍රථම අධ්‍යානයත් එක්ක ලබාගත්ත අරියත් ඵලය. ඒකට කියන මේ චේතෝ විමුක්තිය කියලා.
So Lokam says
චේතෝ විමුක්තිය.
This is what is called Cheto Vimukti, or in English translation is the liberation of mind. Is this fruition attainment that is gained through jhanas.
චේතෝ විමුක්තියට පත්වෙච්ච ගමන් පඤ්ඤා විමුක්තියට වැටෙනවා. ඒක තමයි අරියත් ඵලය.
So here this first jhana is this. So it is somebody that has the
අරියත් ඵලය විපස්සනා ඒකට කියන්නේ පඤ්ඤා විමුක්තිය.
So these two, that is the practitioner that is probably an arahat now, so has the first jhana, which is in his case it's called Cheto Vimukti because it's the jhana that is available to this person who is liberated like that. And when he switches to insight, that one is used to the attainment of fruition. So that is called Panya Vimukti, or liberation by wisdom. So they are now he has quick succession of both.
ඊළඟ දෙවනි ධ්‍යානයට සමවදිනවා.
So once this one is kind of mastered, then the practitioner continues on to the second absorption.
ඒකේ තමුන්ට ඕන වෙලාවක් ඉඳලා තමයි දෙවෙනි ධ්‍යානෙට ගන්න.
So he again, before he has already mastered that, so he's able to attain that second jhana for any time he likes.
දෙවෙනි ධ්‍යානෙ දෙවෙනි ධ්‍යාන සමාපත්තියට වෙනවා. සමාපත්තිය.
So then what he trains now is going through, like before this the first absorption, after emerging from the second absorption, using that excess concentration that is immediately after the emergence from the second absorption, using that thing to enter the fruition.
ඒකෙන් නැගිටිනවා කියන්නේ ධ්‍යාන සමාපත්තිය ප්‍රතික්ෂේප කරන එකයි.
So here when we say like emerging or whatnot, that means in a way it's like rejecting or by abandoning or relinquishing the concentration, jhana concentration.
එතකොට ඒ ගමන්ම සමාධින අරියත් ඵල සමාපatti.
So it's like the practitioner lets go of the absorption, and the next thing that comes is the fruition.
මෙම ධ්‍යාන අටම කරනවා.
So in this described way, he attains this proficiency and mastery of switching between those for the seventh absorption.
මේ අටම පුරුදු කරනවා එහෙනම්.
So that means the first four, 5 material jhanas, and then the first 3 of the immaterial attainments. That's up to the this attain is this third one on the immaterial side.
එතකොට දැන් මේ නිරෝධඥා නාසඤ්ඤා යතෙන්ද සමාධින්නේ.
So this cannot be done with the last immaterial absorption, which is called this attainment of neither perception nor non-perception.
එතකොට දැන් මේ ක්‍රමානුකූලව මේ ධ්‍යාන හතයි අරියත් ඵලයයි සමාධිය. ක්‍රමානුකූලව.
We have to remember, so this practitioner is been continuously practicing and mastering, going from one absorption into the fruition attainment, then another absorption, another fruition attainment, and so on.
ඊළඟට මේ
For the first 7 absorptions.
ඊළඟට මේ නිරෝධ මේ කවුද අනාප මොකද්ද නිවසඤ්ඤා නාසඤ්ඤා යතන මෙනෙහි කරන්නේ. ඒක මෙනෙහි කරන්නේ.
ඔව්.
මෙනෙහි කරන්නේ නිවසඤ්ඤා නාසඤ්ඤා යතන මෙනෙහි කරන්නේ.
ඔව්.
එතකොට නිවසඤ්ඤා නාසඤ්ඤා යතනට පස්සේ ආකින්චඤ්ඤා යතන මේ පාකාසන්නද විඥාන ආකින්චඤ්ඤා යතන. ආකින්චඤ්ඤා යතන මෙනෙහි කරනවා අරමුණ.
ඔව්.
අරමුණ මෙනෙහි කරලා අරියත් ඵලයට සමාදිනවා.
ඔව්.
ඒ අරියත් ඵලයට සමාදිලා නැගිටිනවා.
ඔව්.
නැගිටලා නේවසඤ්ඤා නාසඤ්ඤා යතනේ හිතෙනවා විතරයි.
ඔව්.
ඒකම අරියත් ඵලයට වෙන ඉතින් ඉවරයි. එතකොට මේ ඒතර විමුක්ඛ මුඛයට යන්නේ. විමුක්ඛ දැන් මොකක් හරි
ඉතින් ආකින්චාත ගියා ඊට පස්සේ ඵලසිත ගියා. ඊට නිකන් හිතන්න නේව සංඥා නාසඤ්ඤා.
නේව සංඥා නාසඤ්ඤා හිතෙනවා.
හිතෙනවා
එච්චරයි.
ඊට පස්සේ ඒ නිරුද්ධ වෙනවා.
ඒවලේ ඔක්කොම නිරුද්ධ වෙනවා. සංඥා වේදනා දෙක හිතෙන තියෙන.
ඔව්.
ඒ දෙක නිරුද්ධ වෙනවා.
So now when this one is this mastery of these 7 is attained, so then the practitioner one day after so he's attained this 7 jhana, which is the sphere of nothingness, akinchayatana, and from that, after emerging from that, immediately entering the fruition attainment. So next the practitioner just thinks about the last immaterial absorption, which is the sphere of neither perception nor non-perception. So within that there is kind of leftover of something, somewhat leftover of feeling and perception. Because the mind has been trained this way, this much cannot be used normally for the fruition attainment, but because the mind was trained to switch between those, what happens instead of the fruition attainment, the mind attains this cessation.
වේදනා සංඥා දෙක ඉතුරු වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
So because now අන්තිම කියන්න අනිච්චේතසික වලින් වගේ.
එතකොට ඒ වේදනා සංඥා දෙකනේ විතර. අනිත් මොකද?
Because if you understand what is going in the mind when one is attaining through those things, so this jhanas and immaterial jhanas is like reducing different mind factors that are occurring. So what is left at the attainment of neither perception nor non-perception is basically just the feeling and perception that is left there and nothing else.
එතකොට ආරම්මණයක් මෙනෙහි වෙන්න ඕනේ.
මොකද?
එතන ඉඳලා ආරම්මණය මෙනෙහි කරන ආරම්මණය තමයි විමුක්ඛය.
So what needs to be then like attended to or directed the mind to is some kind of object. So the object there itself is the release or liberation.
විමුක්ක තුනයි.
So one of the three liberations.
ඒවා ඒක සාමාන්‍ය කතා කරන අනිත්‍ය දුක්ඛ අනාත්ත වගේ. නමුත් ඒකට අනිත්‍ය දුක්ඛ අනාත්ත කියන්නේ.
So there are actually these three, they are called like doorways or gates to liberation in the English translations. They are somewhat similar to the what is normally called the three characteristics, but at this level it is not called just a characteristic. It is called this doorway to liberation.
විමුක්කය මෙනෙහි කරන්න සංඥාව තියෙනවා.
So if one, so for that to work, so for this doorway to liberation to work, there needs to be some kind of perception there.
සංඥාව අයින් වෙච්චාම මේ වේදනාවට ඉන්න තැනක් නෑ.
If you remove perception, then the feeling has like cannot like hang out alone in the space. There's no place to exist alone.
අරියත් ඵලයේ වේදනාව තියෙනවා.
That's the difference, because in the only possible way how that is the fruition attainment of the arahat. Anit palasite meva.
ඔව් එතකොට
actually all the fruition minds, Lokam says they have just this like feeling without anything else. It's that specific
සංඥාවක් නෑ. සංඥාවක් තිබුණොත් අරමුණක් තියෙනවනේ.
It's feeling without any perception, because if you have a perception, then you have an object. So this Lokam says this fruition mind or fruition attainment is something where there is just the feeling without any even perception.
සංඥාවක් අරමුණක් නැති විදීමක් තියෙනවා. ඒ ඵල සමාපත්තිය.
So that's the attainment of fruition is where there is feeling or some kind of like experiencing, but no perception whatsoever.
ඒ ඵලය නිරුද්ධ වෙනවා.
So this thing itself then ceases or attains a nirodha.
ඒක නිරෝධ සමාපත්තියයි.
So then when that happens, because the practice all this way, so he or she attains the attainment of cessation of perception and feeling.
මේක ඉතින් මං කිව්වා ඉතින් මහින් දහපු නිසා වැඩක් නෑ ඉතින්.
So because whenever Mahinda asked this, I tried to explain something, but it's actually kind of pointless for us to.
නිරෝධ සමාපත්තිය සමාධින් ඉස්සෙල්ලා මේ සමාධිනවා හෝ සයින් නැතිකිනවා මේලා ඒව මොනවක්වත් ගන්න ආවේ.
So the other thing is the practitioner does not have like idea now I'm going to go and enter this attainment of cessation or things like that. The practitioner does not have any ideas like that.
නිරෝධ සමාපත්තිය කියන්නේ ditta dhamma වශයෙන්ම නිවන විඳින වෙලාව.
So because actually this attainment of cessation of perception of feeling or attainment of cessation is what is called like experiencing nibbana in this very life or in the here and now.
නිබ්බානේ යම් වෙලාවක ලැබුණානේ පුද්ගලයාට ලැබිච්ච ගාම මේ නිබ්බානේ ආයි ස්පර්ශ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ස්පර්ශ වෙන්නේ ඵලයයි.
So now these people that manage to attain nibbana can never again touch the same like the nibbana in the same way. It cannot happen, but what can be kind of re-experience is what is called the fruition the fruition moment.
ඵලයත් එක්කම තියෙන ප්‍රතිවේක්ෂා.
Together with this fruition කියන්න පුළුවන් අර ඵලය අර මාර්ගයෙන් පස්සේ
මාර්ගයෙන් පස්සේ ඵලය
නෑ අර පළක් සුබයි දන්නේ. So now so just to make things clear for people that are not too much familiar with that, normally what happens is there is the experience of past or then the experience of nibbana. So what comes immediately afterwards is the experience of fruition. And with that, what comes together is kind of reviewing or reflecting on what was happening.
ඵල සමාපත්තිය තිබුණට නිරෝධ සමාපත්තියට සම්මාදින්න බෑ. ඵලය කියන එක මේ වේදනා සංඥායක මිශ්‍රණයක් තියෙනවා.
So it is not.
වේදනාවත් එක තමයි.
So Lapam says it's not possible to go from the fruition attainment into the cessation attainment, because the fruition attainment is somehow still connected with feeling and perception.
අන්නේ මේ මිශ්‍රණ ගතිය ඒක අයින් කරන එක තමයි නිරෝධ සමාපත්තියෙන් කරන්නේ.
So this, whereas this cessation, attainment of cessation, nirodha samapatthi is being removed from even this mixture of feeling and perception that is there in connection with the fruition attainment.
ඉතින් මේකටදී යෝගයේ පුද්ගලයා මේ අපි වගේ මේෙන් ඉඳලා බෑ. ඉතින් ඒවා ඉතින් කොහාට හරි වෙලාම පුරුදු කරන්න ඕනේ. දැන් අපි වගේ දැන් මේ කතා කරලා ඒවම පුරුදු කරන්න අමාරුයි.
So now places like our places, or at least the people that are practicing the way it's here, even places like this might be difficult to practice this, what has been described so far. So because here still the practitioner might not have the needed kind of quiet and solitude or being free from all trouble. So it is for things like that these so-called like forest hermitages are very useful. So because in these proper forest monasteries you have these so-called empty huts or empty spaces, empty places, or so what is mentioned in the suttas, there are these roots of the trees and empty abodes, so those are there freely available in proper forest hermitages.
බුදුවරුන්ට මේ පුරුදු කරන්නේ ඒ පුරුදු ඒ බුදුවරුන්ට ස්වභාවිකම මේ ඇවිත් තියෙන ධර්මතා පස්සේ බුදුවරුන්ට
මුල් කාලේ පෙරකත එක ඉබ්බෙක්ම ඇවිත්.
මුල් කාලේ නිකේනවා.
So this like there is a difference between us and let's say the Buddha, and I ask and concept also some people around the Buddha's times, very prominent people. Those days the Buddha himself attained this not through this like training that was described now, because that is a specific things. How the Buddha is attained is like a very specific thing, and it has like a bonus or kind of extra stuff that happens with that.
ධ්‍යානෙට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ධ්‍යානෙට පස්සේ මේ කරුණු දෙක හොඳ තේරුමක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යානෙට ඉස්සෙල්ලා ප්‍රථම ධ්‍යානෙන් පස්සේ මේ අපේ මේ විඥානයේ පවතින ක්‍රමය හොඳට දැනගෙන තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
So one thing for this, in order to attain this, one has to have a really clear idea what is happening with consciousness, how it works before the absorption, in the absorption, after absorption. The person has to have very clear understanding of what is happening with the consciousness itself.
ඒක මේ උද්දච්චයක් නැතුවම පුරුදු වෙලා තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
And this needs to be trained without any kind of restlessness in the practitioner.
ඒතකොට දෙවෙනි ධ්‍යානයත් ධ්‍යානෙ පස්සේ දෙවෙනි ධ්‍යානට ඉස්සෙල්ලත් හොඳට මේ අවබෝධයක්
So then first you have this clear understanding what is there in connection with the first absorption. What is happening before when it's entered, when it's there, and after emerging from the first absorption. So then with the second absorption, likewise again, the yogi needs to have very clear understanding what is happening before the absorption and in it and after.
ඒ වගේම මේ ධ්‍යාන අටේම මේ ධ්‍යානෙට ඉස්සෙල්ලයි ධ්‍යානෙට පස්සේ
So like this all the 8 absorptions, practitioner has to have really clear first, then understanding and clear understanding about those. What is before and what is there and what is after.
ඊට පස්සේ ඵලයත් එහෙම තියෙන්න ඕනේ.
So then, same way, the understanding about the fruition attainment needs to be again very clear understanding what is before happening and when there and when afterwards.
ඵලයට ඉස්සෙල්ලත්
Oh.
ඵලයෙන් පස්සෙත් මේ සිතේ පවතින ක්‍රමය
So
දෙකම
it's
තියෙනවා.
at least this always before that how the mind is working, how it is happening in the mind, in what way, and then afterwards, after emerging, in what way the mind is happening.
එතකොට මේ අනාගාමී ඵලයට ඉස්සෙල්ලා සම්පූර්ණ මේ අනාගාමී ඵලයට සමවදින්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා හොඳටම පිළිසිදුව තේරුම් වෙලා තියෙනවනේ. ඊට පස්සේ අනාගාමී ඵලයෙන් පස්සේ පවතින ඒතකොට ප්‍රතිවේක්ෂා නැහැ. ප්‍රතිවේක්ෂා නැහැ පවතින ක්‍රමෙ දැනගන්න තියෙනවා.
It's not the reflection or reviewing that we are talking about. It's when this person is training this mastery of the fruition or entering the fruition moment. So during that, let's say, kind of training or gaining mastery, that's what comes with that is very clearly understanding what is happening up to the moment where the fruition is attained. And after emerging from the fruition, what is happening exactly?
අරියත් ඵලයෙන් ඉස්සෙල්ලත් අරියත් ඵලයට සමවදින්න ඉස්සෙල්ලත් තේරුම් තියෙනවා පස්සෙත් තේරුම් තියෙනවා. දෙකම. ඒතකොට ඒ කෙනාට පුළුවන් මේ පොඩ්ඩ කරන්න.
So it's for such a person that has this clear understanding about all these things that can hope to train this attainment of cessation.
ඔව් සෑම කෙනෙකුටම බෑ.
It's not possible for everybody, right? Not everybody has really the ability to train in this.
අපිට බැරි වුණාම අපි මේ ක්‍රම වැරදි කියලා ඒකත් වැරදි. අපිට බෑ.
So it's also wrong to say if like you try to train in this and it's not happening, it's not working for you. It's wrong to say this way of practice is wrong. What is correct to say for me, it's not working. I cannot do it that way. That is okay, but you cannot just discard the way of this training because it's not working for you.
හේතුවක් තියෙනවා.
So there is a reason for that.
අපිට විතක්ක එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔය තියෙන මොන ආරම්මන ඒ ආරම්මන මේ තමයි මේ කරදර කරන්නේ.
So Lacan is the reason there being it's like thinking or discursive thinking or some kind of objects kind of bothering us. So being bothered by these thoughts or some objects always is what is preventing us from training in those things.
ඒක හේතුව සමාධියේ මදිකම.
So the reason for that is actually a lack or like not like some kind of weakness in our own concentration, samadhi.
ඒක හේතුව සමාධියේ කියන්නේ සමාපatti ඒ සමාපත්තිය මදි. ඒ සමාපත්තිය ශක්තිය හිතින්නේ. සමාපත්තිය ශක්තිය පැයක් නම් ඒ පැය හරියට තියෙනවා. ඒක කැඩි තිබුණත් සමාදින්න බෑ.
So now the reason for that being is actually now the person needs to have some kind of master of familiarity or concentration. So this one is not attained, the master of familiarities. So Lacan says, let's say you need to stay in the concentrated state for 1 hour to gain the kind of momentum to train those things. So if within that hour the concentration has breaks or kind of is not very steady and strong, so that kind of concentration is not good enough for the work you want to use it.
මේ රූප කලාපේ සමාපත්තියෙන් ඕන හැටියට සකස් වෙන්නේ. අපේ ශරීර රූප කලාප.
So the other thing is even the bodily particles like there are some kinds of maturity in our bodies that are matching these mind states. So in our cases, it's our own bodily particles are unable to match this needed level.
නිවර්ණ නැහැ.
So Lacan says the person does not have really hindrances working.
සංයෝජනත් නෑ.
There are even no fetters.
ඒ වුණාට මේ අපේ රූප කලාප සකස් වෙන්නේ.
So the person has really no hindrances, no factors at work, but even the body itself is not just does not, it's like lacking the ability to upgrade itself kind of.
ඉතින් දැන් ඒකට මේ ප්‍රධාන වශයෙන් මේ ඍතුව.
So one of these reasons or comes is like actually that is the first or the main reason there is the climate itself.
භෝජනය.
Second one is food or like nutrition.
සේනාසනය.
Third one is dwelling.
පුද්ගලයා.
And the last one is people.
එතකොට මේ අපිට ඒ කරුණු හතරම තිබුණත් මට අසනීප තියෙන්නේ නැත.
So but we need to have all four of these really in a good shape in order for this. So Lokam says like for him, he's sick. So sometimes when you fall sick, again you cannot do this.
ඒකෙන් ඒ රූප සම වෙන්නේ රූප කලාප බැලන්ස් වෙලා ඉන්නේ.
So if you are falling sick like that, the bodily particles, they are unable to kind of maintain the level, the harmonized level. So then it's not going to work.
ඉතින් ප්‍රථම ධානයේට සමාපatti තුමනා විදියට රූප කලාප ක්‍රියාත්මක නැහැ.
So then let's say it's you are training the mastery of the first absorption. So because of this shortcoming in because of sickness or something, even the bodily particles cannot match up. So then you or the practitioner does not manage to attain the mastery over the first absorption.
ඇතැම් වෙලාවට ප්‍රථම ධානයේට රූප කලාප ඒ විදියට සකස් වෙනවා දෙවෙනි එකට නෑ.
So with some people they manage to do this for the first absorption, but when they are training for the second absorption, they hit a wall and they cannot proceed, and so they can again even the bodily particles cannot like measure up or get the kind of supporting or sustaining level for the second absorption.
දෙකටත් තියෙන තුනට නෑ.
So then some people have it, they manage to get it for the first and second absorption. When they are trying to gain the master over the third absorption, again they hit the wall.
ඉතින් අන්න ඒ වගේ මේ භෞතික ශරීරයේ මේ පොඩි ඒවා තමයි ඉතින් මොනවා කරන්නේ.
So this is like this, even this physical body is kind of limiting us in a way.
බුදුහාමුදුරන්ගේ කාය බල 10යි ඥාන බල 10යි.
So
අපිට නේ මොනවා කරන්නේ?
කාය බල
ශරීරයේ කාය බල 10ක් තිබුණා. ඥාන බල 10ක් තියෙනවා.
So the Buddha is said to have 10 powers with something to do with the body and 10 powers with intellect.
දුෂ්කර ක්‍රියා වෙලාවේ මැරෙනවා වෙන කෙනෙක්. මැරෙන්නේ.
So like whatever the austerities or this self-mortification the bodhisattva was going through, so many other people would have died, but because of his like strength that was there enough to become a Buddha, he did survive those things.
ඥානෙ මොකද වෙනස් වෙන්නේ?
And also his wisdom or faculty of understanding was not impaired by those.
ඉතින් එහෙම ඉන්න කෙනා තමයි සත්‍යානුසාරී ඥානෙ පහළ වෙන්නේ. සත්‍යානුසාරී ඥානය කියලා එකක් පහළ වෙනවා බුදු වෙන ආත්මේ දුෂ්කර ක්‍රියාවේ. එනකොට සත්‍යානුසාරී ඥානය ශාස්ත්‍රවරයෙක් වෙන්න උවමනා කරන ඥානයක ඒ ඥානෙ පහළ වෙච්ච ගමන්ම
So Lokam says there is one specific jnana or knowledge or kind of understanding of somebody that is to become a teacher that happens like this in connection with this.
ඒ ඥාන බල 10 නිසා තමයි ඒක වෙන්නේ.
So Lokam says it's because of these 10 powers of understanding or knowledge that these things were worked out for the Buddha himself.
ඉතින් දැන් මේ විදිහට දුෂ්කර ක්‍රියාව අතහැරලා ආයෙත්
So like in the Bodhisattva's case, in the end he rejected, renounced this self-mortification practices and started practicing in a kind of
අපිට අපේ රූප කලාප බැලන්ස් නැති නිසා මේ සමාපත්තිය දුර්වල වෙනවා.
So, but then the Bodhisattva managed to kind of get well and attain the Buddhahood. So, in our case, our own bodies have some kind of inherent weakness which prevents us from gaining this mastery of this absorption.
බාන්න රූප කලාප මොග්ගල්ලාන හාමුදුරන්ට හොරු ගහලා හාල්ලට ගාන්ට කැඩුවා මුළු අඟම.
Hmm.
හැබැයි මේ චුතිසිතක් හටගත්තේ නෑ. ඒ ඥාන බලය.
Hmm.
ඉතින් ඊට පස්සේ මොග්ගල්ලාන දැන් අතාරින්න.
Hmm.
දැන් බලන්න බුදුහාමුදුර ළඟට එන්න සකස් කරගෙන. ඒ කියන්නේ සමාපatti බලය. රූප
So
කලාප.
there is a story of Venerable Mahamoggallana. So he was one of the two chief disciples, and he was the one of the most potent psychic powers, or so-called psychic powers.
Hmm.
So this is just an illustration of what was there with people in the Buddha's days, or the prominent person. Right? So and now at the end of his life, he was beaten close to death or dying. So they say there was no peace in his body. Like he was broken so that the parts in his body were like smaller than even rice seeds are bigger than the pieces that he was crushed into internally. But thanks to his power of wisdom or understanding, and thanks to his mastery, that was still not enough to induce dying moment in him, even though the body was completely like pulverized really. So he thought of seeing the Buddha for the last time, so he used his psychic powers to visit the Buddha and pay his respect. And Buddha would give
දැන් එතකොට දැන් ඉතින් අතාරින වෙලාවනේ. දැන් එතකොට කෑලි බෑලි මේ මොනවා කුඩු වෙලා තිබුණත් ඒ ධ්‍යාන ශක්තිය ඵල සමාපatti ඒ සමාපatti ශක්තිය එහෙමම. සමාපatti ශක්තියනේ පුරුදු කළේ. ඒ සමාපatti ශක්තිය එහෙමමයි ශක්තිය.
So because he trained before this attainment or mastery, already before this happened, the power of this trained mastery managed to kind of keep the things going, even though he was like any other person that would have like to immediate death. No, if you are crushed to pieces completely. He was beaten to pulp by people like guys with clubs. They just really thrashed him completely.
සමාපatti බලයක් තියෙනකොට චුත වෙන්නත් බෑ පෙන්වන්න පාන්නත් බෑ.
So, but this strength of this samapatti or the attainment or mastery is such that nobody else can do anything about it.
මෙතන ඉන්න මැරෙන්නේ.
So, are nirodha samapatti?
නෑ නිරෝධ නෑ නිකන් අනිත්‍යව.
So it's not only the mastery of this attainment of cessation, but it's any kind of mastery or over any attainment. Any kind of samapatti, if you have the mastery, that means nobody else can really do anything about what you do. So if I understood correctly what happened with Mahamoggallana, after paying respects to the Buddha, then he and the Buddha knew this is the end of lifespan now come. So at that point the samapatti was, the mastery was like let go of, and then when that happened, then the body like kicked in and has been completely destroyed and the death occurred.
ජුන්න සූත්‍රයේ ජුන්න සූත්‍රයේ මුග්ග සාරිපුත්තාන් වහන්සේ නන්දයක් ටොක්කක් යන්නනේ. ඒ වෙලාවේ පින්නුවම් පානවා. මේ මහා ඇතෙක් උනත් ඒ වෙලෙම මැරෙනවා. ඒ වෙලෙම සමාපත්තියේ ක්ෂණයෙන් සම්වැදෙන සමාපත්තිය ලොකු කළු ගලකට ගැහුවා වගේනේ තේන්නේ.
So there is another story about the strength of samapatti or masteries. It's a kind of famous, nice anecdote from the scriptures. So Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mahamoggallana, they were best friends, and they were the two chief disciples of the Buddha. So one day they were meditating somewhere in front of a cave or something, and there was a kind of evil spirit floating above, and this spirit was also called Yakka. There is another one, and so first spirit said, "Oh, this ascetic is kind of annoying. I will smash him with this vajra, with this kind of some kind of powerful thing." So the explanation there was, if there is this extremely strong bull elephants, so if you hit it with the same power, it dies on the spot immediately. So this first the spirit went down and hit Venerable Sariputta on the head. So Venerable Mahamoggallana was there, and thanks to his psychic powers, he could see the whole situation as it was happening. But he could see Venerable Sariputta was unmoved, continuing. So when he finished his meditation and arose from his meditation seat, his friend Mahamoggallana asked him, "Oh, friend, I saw this yaka hitting you on the head with this thing, and if if it hit a bull elephant, it would have killed him on the spot. But you are just not what happened." So then Venerable Sariputta said, "Oh yes, true. I feel like headache as if something hit me on the head, but nothing else." But then anyway, so Venerable Sariputta then also commented Venerable Mahamoggallana on his ability to see all these things. So, but Lokam said, at that moment, because Venerable Sariputta had this mastery over his attainments, that prevented the death from this vajra.
It's in Udana, Yak Pahar Sutta.
So if you want to see, it's in Udana, or it inspired utterances. So, and it's actually also in another place somewhere in the scripture.
ඉතින් දැන් මේවා කියන්නේ මේ සමාපත්තියයි ධානයයි පරසමාපත්තියයි අරියත් පරසමාපත්තියයි නිරෝධා ඒවා ගොඩක් වෙනස්.
So like all these things, you have absorption, then you have mastery over absorption, then you have fruition, or like entering fruition or having fruition moment, and gaining mastery over the fruition. Then you have also the attainment of cessation. So all these things are very specific things and different one from another.
Oh, ඉතින් මේවා ඉතින් මෙයාලා ශ්‍රද්ධාව ඇති වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඉතින් ශ්‍රද්ධාව නැති වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. විතර්ක පාල වෙන්නත් පුළුවන්. ඒ වගේ තමයි මේවා.
So when we hear about these things, Lokamdu says, some people might get inspired and gain a lot of faith and confidence. But in other people, it might have the other. The result might be opposite. After hearing this, they might feel dejected or down. Like the same thing with some people, this explanation might have clarified thoughts or discursive thinking about those things. But with other people, it might have started them. So it's up to you what happens.
හුඟක් දෙනෙක් පොඩ්ඩු කරන්න ගිහින් මානසික රෝගات හදා ගන්නවා. නැති දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියලා හිතලා.
This is an unfortunate thing what happens. There is a number of people are living. A number of people, usually they are monks, but some people they are trying to actively attain those things. So Lokam says, out of these people that are actively trying to do that, many of them finish up with some mental issues. Other unfortunate varieties, people think they have some of these already. So that is also kind of, they are just deluding themselves. So most of these things are a bit unfortunate. So Lokan says, anyway, the explanation I gave you today is from my knowledge and understanding I gathered, not that I have any real experience of those things myself. So may you be well and happy.